Hey YouTube, it is Isaac Mander, your coach, the Canadian Sarah Lucas, and guys, we are back for another draft analysis. So this is going to be kind of a quicker draft analysis, so don't expect too much. I don't know. It's not going to be too informative as much as I want it to be because I do have to record this kind of in a rush. So again, my apologies. So let's talk about the team I drafted. So this is a low tier league and has a point system. You have up to 110 points. That's pretty much the gist of it. You could tear Pokemon 7 points and under, and you have a limit of 13 points. So yeah, that's all good and dandy. So let's talk about the team. So my first Pokemon that I drafted was Raikou. Now, I wanted to Sumi Gujarat, but that was taken, so I got the second best option. It's got a good move pool with Calm Mind and a lot of special attacks and E-Speed, so this Pokemon can definitely put in some work. I think this is just a great Pokemon to have, and it does force Pokemon to be faster, and may even force Scarfers to be faster. So, hey, that works for me. Now, next Pokemon. I'm at Fast Electric. Now I need a Rapid Spinner. Now, the best Rapid Spinner, Cyclizar, was already taken, but honestly, I only really wanted the top three. Either a Cyclizar, a Blastoise, or a Donphan, so of course, I got Blastoise since I already used Donphan in a draft league, so I decided to get Blastoise. It has good defenses, pretty decent attacking stats, and of course, Shell Smash. So this Pokemon can really be a sweeper and a spinner, and it can kind of just do all the roles at once. It could be mixed attacker, Ice Beam, Ice Spinner, Liquidate. Well, it has Wave Crash for physical. It can be a Water Spout Pokemon. So this Pokemon can do a lot of things, and that's what's awesome about Blastoise. Now, my next Pokemon. My next Pokemon that I drafted now, I really wanted to get a physical offensive breaker, so I got Low Kicks. Now, Low Kicks is strong. It gives me a Dark type and a Bug type Pokemon. First Impression gives me great priority with First Impression and Sucker Punch. Also gets SD, so if you try to stop my First Impression or try to play around Sucker Punch, I can get a free SD and you can't do anything about it. Also gets agility, so if I wanted to run a more bulky-ish build, this Pokemon isn't very bulky, but if I wanted to run a max HP, I could use agility just to get my speed up and leech life things, but agility isn't super useful in this Pokemon because most of the time you're clicking priority, so yeah, that's Low Kicks. Now my next Pokemon. I wanted to get a physical ball, and I'll spoil my draft a little bit. My next four picks are pretty much all physically tanky Pokemon, so that. So my next pick is Galarian Weezing. Now this Pokemon gets Misty Search, so I have a terrain Pokemon. I also get Neutralizing Gas and Levitate, so I get really good abilities. I also get Defog, so now I have a Spinner and a Defogger. This Pokemon also gets T-Spike, so now I have a T-Spike setter. This is also my Fairy type, and it can be a grounded poison, so that's great. It gets good coverage, and Pain Split for recovering, which is not bad. Obviously we wish this thing got recover, but Pain Split will do. Now my next Pokemon. Now I wanted to get my first Terra Captain, which costs 7 points. So I got Duraludon. Duraludon gives me my Steel and my Dragon, gives me a strong and bulky Pokemon, so I can cook with this mon. It also gets Body Press, so I don't have to really always run special. I can always have a Body Press Iron Defense set, especially with the Eviolite boosting its bulk. So this mon can be really strong. It also gets Sword Stance, so I can run it physically or specially. And of course, it gives me a Stealth Rocker, so I won't have to. I can get hazards up in the beginning of the game, and also I'll talk about my Terras. I picked Terra, Steel, Fairy, and Water. Basically 3 defensive Terras. So, I mean, Water gives me coverage for grounds, for example. Fairy is just an incredible defensive typing, allows me to be immune to dragons and hit dragons back. And also, Steel is just, in my opinion, I prefer it over Dragon, as Steel, in my opinion, is a better defensive typing. And Fighting and Ground are usually physical, and this thing is a lot more physically bulky, so that helps. Now, my next Pokemon. Next Pokemon I got, again, my last of the physical walls. He got Sinisha. Now, this is also another strong special attacker, but it also gives me my Ghost and Grass type, which gives me a ground resist. My team doesn't do very well against ground types at the moment, so this mon really helps. With Strength Sap and things like that. Strength Sap to weaken ground types, Skull to burn, same with Machagacha. I might run Giga Drain over this move because of the fact Giga Drain has the added benefit of not missing or Energy Ball just for better damage. Machagacha is a good move, and I probably would run it, but the fact it can miss scares me. So there's also that. It also gets Combine Nasty Plot for good setup. It also gets Stun Spore to slow things down, and it also gets the option of running. Where is it? Imprison as well. So Imprison sets could be fun. Yeah, that's pretty much what this Pokemon can do. It's a good bulky ghost type. Now, my next Pokemon. Now, I wanted to get a Sticky Web Pokemon, and originally I was going to get a late Masquerade pick, but I wanted to get another fairy, and I also wanted to get something that could boost its special defense besides Sinisha, so I got Rabompi. Now, Rabompi gives me another fairy, which fairy is one of the best typings, so it's always great to have another one. It also gives me a Quiver Dancer, a Sticky Webber. It also gives me another Stun Spore. It gives me a fast Pokemon, a super fast Pokemon. The only things that outspeed it in this tier are Jolteon, Talonflame, the Electrodes. Those are like most of the good ones. I mean, Electrode's not that great, like a Hisuian Electrode. And then there's Regieleki as well, who outspeeds this mon, which is also a really good Pokemon. It got picked up round 1. So, yeah, I'm telling you, it's a good mon. This mon also gets Lunge, so I could really use this as a cool lead. It gets Psychic Noise, so I can prevent recovery. It gets Tailwind, and since this thing is really fast, I can get it off. It also gets Trick and Switcheroo, so I could definitely do some messing around with this mon, and I'm excited to use Rabombi. I've always wanted to draft it, so. And the other Sticky Web options were good, but I feel like Rabombi is like the best one. Now my next Pokemon. Now, I needed a fire and fighting type, and both of the firefightings were still on the board, and it was a big debate for me. Emboar, Blaziken, Emboar, Blaziken, Emboar, Blaziken. I was gonna get Emboar, my original draft plan. Then I looked at my speed tiers and noticed my team was slow as bricks. And maybe in the future, since Emboar was not drafted, spoiler alert, I got Blaziken. Emboar, I may take it, but I'm not sure. Blaziken's just faster, so I decided to Blaziken. If Blaziken fails me, I'll take Emboar. And yeah, that's that. And I'll just have to deal with the speed tier, I guess. So this Pokemon does get great physical moves and great special moves too. Fortunately, this thing doesn't get Earth Power, so I'm probably going to be mostly running physical, especially with SD just being a thing. This thing does get Upper Hand, which is always a great move. It gets good support moves like Feather Dance and also Will-O-Wisp. So this mon can be a great support mon and a great sweeper. This Pokemon can kind of sweep right away. The thing about Emboar is it's a bulky sweeper, yeah. But I feel like with that Pokemon you have to set up, and it's a lot slower out the gate. And all my other Pokemon are kind of just like slow as bricks. Now, my next Pokemon. I just noticed that I forgot to talk about a Pokemon that I drafted before Sinisha, and that's Rhyperior. I wanted to get my ground type, and Rhyperior, see, this is my other physical guy. So I got Rhyperior, a strong physical attacker who's also slow as bricks. This mon gets Earthquake, this mon gets super good coverage, and gets an amazing ability in Solid Rock. If I wanted to run a super offensive build, I'd probably run a Reckless build, but most of the time, I'm going to probably stick with Solid Rock just for the defensive capabilities. This mon gets great moves in Heat Crash and Heavy Slam, since this thing is like a freaking Rock Titan dude. This mon is heavy, and those moves are most of the time going to be 120 BST and Nuke. This also gets Rock, so I get another Rocker. And yeah, it gets a good move pool. It gets Rock Polish, so I can make this a sweeper, honestly. This mon could go crazy. So yeah, I talked about Blaze. So now my next Pokemon. Now, before my last two Terra Captains, I wanted to get one more Pokemon, and I wanted to get a Psychic type and another Pokemon with good Spidef. As you notice, Rhyperior has bad Spidef, so and a lot of my other Pokemon don't have the greatest Spidef in the world, so I decided to get Galarian Articuno. Now, I'm kind of surprised this thing was still on the board because it gives me the perfect speed tier of 95. I wanted a 95 to 100, so 95 is perfect. Gives me Freezing Glare, gives me a great Psyshock Pokemon. Also good get Recovery and Calm Mind. So this thing could be a set up Fiend. And this mon is naturally strong. So after Calm Mind, this Pokemon can go stupid, honestly. It also gets Hypnosis, so I can put things to sleep and set up, which makes this Pokemon even better. Now, my last two Terra Captains. Now, first, I wanted to get a proper grounded poison. And what's better than Muck? Muck is a great special wall, and it's a grounded poison. It literally fit my team perfectly. It's like God picked this mon for me. Muck was just mwah, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. So, yes, my Muck Terras were poison, grass, and dark. And the reason I picked grass was to resist ground, and I picked dark to boost knockoff and to be immune to psychic, as I didn't have the best psychic switch-ins in the world. I mean, obviously, I have a low kicks, but that's my only dark type. Yeah, it's my only dark type, so it's not super reliable. So I decided to put Terra Dark on this thing too, which helps a lot. This thing also gets an amazing ability in Poison Touch. I don't think Stench is banned, so I could hacks here with this ability, but this thing is so slow, so I'm probably just gonna run Poison Touch always. This thing gets good acid armor, so I can make this a double wall. This thing also gets stockpile, so I can make it even tankier on the special side. It gets the elemental punches, it gets knockoff, it gets another T-Spiker and a toxic Pokemon, which is awesome. Now, my last Pokemon, my last Terra Captain, is Dracoloak. This helps my speed tiers up a bit, which is why I may consider getting Emboar, because obviously this cleans up my speed tiers even more. But Blaziken has an 80, which I don't really have, besides with Blastoise, I think, with the 78. And I do have like an 80 something and an 80 something. I'm not like 110% sure, but I'm going to keep Blaziken at least for the first couple weeks and see how it does. Now, this Pokemon, Dracoloak here, gets me a dual screens, gets me another ghost type, gets me a Willow and Thunder Wave setter, and the Terran types I picked for it were Dragon, Ghost, and Fairy. So basically all offensive besides Fairy, which is more defensive. So I'm hoping this one can come a couple weeks and do some work. It can set up screens, it can Psychic Fang screens, it can T-Wave and Willow things. And yeah, that's the main things it can do. It can also Infestate Trap. So yeah, I can have some fun with this Pokemon. It also gets Dragon Dance, so it has potential to be an alright sweeper. So with that, that is my draft analysis for the TBD. This is the Draft League, new low tier league that I'm in. So I'm gonna say one thing, and that is, well, that's it. Yeah, this is probably a shorter draft analysis. I am going to be on a trip for a week, so I'm not sure when this will be up. Probably up next week on Thursday. So, yeah. So, I will see you all for week one, of course. Peace out, guys.